Ready to click it?
Click it.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Hello, everybody. Meteorologist Bret, Adair, and David Neal here in the house this evening to discuss what, David?
What? I mean, seriously, what is there not to discuss? I was looking earlier, and it was like everything. We got a commercial, first of all, Brett, right now. I just noticed we have a commercial that's up. But anyway, there's so much you could talk about today, from what's happening out into the tropics. We got our first little tropical deal out there, our second actually, with a bee name that goes along with it that you're mighty close to. And then we've had some of the weirdest weather I can recall going on after June the 1st across the deep south into the southeastern United States, and down on the Gulf Coast in particular. How weird is that stuff? I just talked to some people who drove up, who were driving across the country. They just came out of Mobile today, and they said I-10 was closed.
Yeah, I think they had a flash flood emergency down there. Tons of local storm reports down in that area today. It had a flash flood emergency for Mobile proper over into Baldwin County. Had several water spouts that came on shore as tornadoes down to Bon Secours Bay as well. On the western shores there, Baldwin County went down toward the Gulf Shores. I don't think they had any kind of a direct impact, but it's been very, very busy down in Mobile and Baldwin counties, along with portions of Jackson County down there. Just outside of Pascagoula, the city of Moss Point, got some family down there. They took a direct hit down on Main Street there, just south of the bridge, south of Escatawpa, west of Highway 63, and just south of Interstate 10. Took a pretty major tornado hit down there. Looks to me like it's at least going to be EF2, maybe EF3 type tornado. Took some of the structures completely down. Some injuries down there, minor from what I understand, but man, it just does not seem like June in the South right now.
Stupid stuff, and they just issued a new meso discussion. This is brand new. They just popped this out where they're considering a severe thunderstorm watch down here, but there is a tornado warning just north of Lake Pontchartrain here at the moment. But threat for large hail, how stupid is that this time of the year? This far down to the south, damaging winds into later on this evening. They draw you a little circle, that Slidell back over to New Orleans, where they're talking about that, over to the Wrigley's and eastward. It looks like over near, the bay there, which I know you've done a mini live shot there at the bay. But Radar Omega has that tornado warning still in effect there across the northeastern side of St. Tammany Parish there in southeastern Louisiana. That goes until 10 o'clock tonight. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado near Abita Springs, about 12 miles northwest of Slidell, Louisiana, moving west at about, well, that's stupid too. It's moving west at 10 miles per hour. That's dumb.
There's an outflow boundary there,
Look
Dave,
at
that
it.
runs from New Orleans up across Pontchartrain and Mandeville up into that warned area, and it's moving toward the west. It's actually kind of shooting to the west out of that convection. There's just really high amounts of instability there today, which is not uncommon this time of the year, but we got some wind shear that's played into this as well. That boundary has been hung out all across the southern United States literally the past 7 days. Now it is down along the Gulf Coastal region. Luckily, it's offshore of Florida, offshore Mississippi for the moment. But Louisiana is still taking it on the chin, and it's been a focal point for all these storms to form and ride all along it. And that boundary is moving, from the northwest to the southeast. So that's basically where the storms have formed. They've been right on that boundary. Shear axis, a lot of instability. And unfortunately, we've dealt with the EF3 tornado. The thing we were watching last night right before we went off air ended up dropping a tornado soon after we went off air there, just to the northeast of Bay Springs, Mississippi. And EF3 150 completely destroyed some chicken houses and some mobile homes and even some well-built homes. And we actually had a fatality there. So very unusual for this time of year in Jasper County.
I know Brandon was there, Brandon Clement, who you talked to during the day today, and I saw some of his video. Very surprising. I know we were on the air when this was going on, and it wasn't exactly. I mean, we had a gate-to-gate shear there that showed up, but it wasn't abnormally different than the ones that have been taking place over the last 45 minutes that didn't verify, at least to me, on the radar imagery that we saw. And then looking visually at what happened during the day today, other than I mean, I guess you and I did look in between at the correlation coefficient. And there was decent agreement there that there was something loft. It was fairly large, but the damage, truly, when I saw it today, overdid what I had envisioned in my head.
I mean, some of that tree damage is indicative of EF4s that we've seen. It snapped those trees at the bases and basically took it debarked them, made them into little splinters at the base. So there was a time period there where that tornado was really doing some damage. And again, what it was is that cell, we continued to watch it cycle over and over and over last night. And that was what continued to happen. It went through one of those cycles, and I think that was the last one that it went through, because as it moved up toward Meridian, it really didn't produce again. So it merged up with all that mess and become more of a heavy rain flash flood threat like we talked about. But again, all it takes is one, and that was down preliminarily right now. They're saying at least 150 mile per hour winds, so they're not done with that survey, and it was down at least 8 miles. But we did have one fatality and a minimum of 25 injuries there near the community on the east side of Lewin, really between, I believe that's going to be Highway 18 and Highway 15 right there is where they got particularly hit hard. We were talking about Antioch Road last night. That's the area that really got crushed.
It was again, I mean, we kept seeing them rotate. We kept seeing the spin on the whole mezzo itself. You could see it sort of rolling along, and then on the southwest side, every once in a while that thing would turn again and come up with a little tight little pocket there. And again, it kind of overdid. The other thing that I saw today, though, was how much water fell into Mobile Bay and just off to the west into Baldwin County, by La Battery, eastward, even down to Dolphin Island. But these are some of the estimates, which I know are tainted because I also saw some quarter-size hail in this, Bret. But I mean, there's some estimates there, 12 to 13 inches of precip there, in West Bay, all the way down to Dolphin Island. Into Mobile itself, there's still quite a bit there too, but heaviest it looks like it's on the western side of Baldwin County and all the way over almost to Gulf Shores, which is where we also had a couple of tornado warnings early in the day today as well. But that's the heavy rain that was ongoing there. And still, we got a couple of you who are out there who are still watching us near New Orleans, and we're going to be watching out for you because this thing is still headed to the west, almost to southeast, because that's sort of the way the polygon is drawn here. At least I thought it was going to be that way to begin with, but still tornado warned here, and the reason that it is there is a little bit difficult to see just in velocity data itself. There's a lot of lightning here, but other than that, I don't really see for sure where we are with that. I don't see anything on the correlation coefficient either at this point, Bret.
No, it just looks like it's more or less in that big line of cells there that's, northwest to southeast. Again, special marine warnings out down there across all of Pontchartrain, down in the Wrigley's and down off of all the isles there, Port Sulphur, extending out into the Gulf of Mexico. That water is going to be very, very rough right now as those storms continue. A lot of deadly lightning down there. That's one of the things. We've got a lot of beach goers. It is the summer, so we're seeing a lot of people traveling to the beaches there along the Mississippi Gulf Coast in particular. A lot of people fishing out there in the afternoons. Talked to my buddy down in Biloxi yesterday, asking me basically what it was going to do, and I said you need to prepare for thunderstorms in the afternoon, really all day for the next few days till this boundary can kind of wash out and get out of there. But that's one of the big threats that's going on down there right now. Again, a lot of that flooding earlier in particular was across Mobile, Baldwin counties, and just over a foot of rain in many, many places. So that's been one of the things that we've been watching today. Had some water rescues take place there. It looks like now they finally dried out. Saw something from the National Weather Service Mobile a little while ago, basically, praying for it to stop. They've been dealing with it for several days now.
Yeah. So, again, that's where we are. This is live radar, by the way, Lake Pontchartrain. So we have a severe thunderstorm warning off to the north there. That's going to be the southernmost part. I think it's St. Timothy Parish, still underneath a severe thunderstorm warning along with a tornado warning. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning on the south side of Orleans Parish there, northwest Jefferson Parish. That goes until 10:15. Severe thunderstorm near Metairie, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Laplace over there, Bret, and I know that place very well, at least where the Home Depot is. There along the Mississippi River. And we're going to be talking about that, by the way, because we do have something tropical brewing, so we'll look at that in just a couple of minutes. But from Picayune southward, big-time thunderstorm that's not moving very much. I'll go back 21 frames, Bret, and you can see the boundary moving off to the west, but the actual precipitation is holding firm there in a corridor that kind of runs from the northwest down to the southeast, and it's not really moving at all to the west. At least there's super heavy rainfall going to be. You can go through heavy rain down there, but I mean, this is some pretty big stuff. And again, some of the video that I saw today coming across the causeway or the tunnel just north of Mobile from there southward in particular, all that heavy rain is not just going off into the Gulf of Mexico. But what a day. I mean, besides that, the tornadoes that we had, I saw some video from over into Destin where a tornado went through there a little bit earlier, and just a crazy day.
Yeah, it's been again very out of the ordinary for that area. We usually do them with pop-up thunderstorms this time of the year, dodging lightning bolts and heavy rain and some damaging winds type of situation there. We don't have a lot of organized thunderstorms like this, but again, a lot of tornadoes down there over the last little bit. You can see there with the infrared satellite, tons of convection, those really cold, deep colors, the whites there in particular there just north of New Orleans. That's very, very deep cloud tops, very cold, indicative of strong to severe thunderstorms. And, again, that's just one of those things that we're dealing with now. Hopefully, it looks like there's another severe weather day tomorrow across South Mississippi into central Louisiana. And, beyond that, maybe it starts to die down just a bit, that boundary starting to retrograde back toward the west a little bit. And the severe threats really start to crank up. It looks like out in the high plains there, Colorado, Wyoming, David.
Yeah. Let's see, there's a wind report right there, 60 mile per hour, 64 mile per hour wind, 908, not long ago there in Orleans Parish, just south and west of New Orleans, where we had that 64 mile per hour wind just outside of Bienville there. And so that's still a severe thunderstorm warning there. But high winds are associated with this, that possible tornado to the north. And as Bret was saying, I mean, this is I think I can say crapper. This is a crapper for everybody who went to the beach this week. And I know a lot of people, I was talking to some people today who are in Gulf Shores, over to Panama City. I mean, this is just, it's beautiful weather in the state of Alabama, central Alabama. I was out a while ago in North Alabama. The humidity's so low. We got a northerly.
It's finally dropped, yeah.
Yeah, northerly fetch coming in. It felt really, really nice this evening. And boom, if you're headed down to the beaches, it sucks.
Yeah, our friends, we had a couple of friends, Ashley and Paul, took their kids down there to Gulf Shores.
Paul. You know a weather guy.
They took the absolute worst time to take a trip down there. Been dodging tornado warnings, I guess, for the last couple of days. They went Saturday, and I'm like, yeah, the beginning of your trip's going to be horrible. So hopefully, for their sake, the next couple of days dry out a little bit. We can get some of this, again, this boundary retrograde a little bit, maybe be the Mississippi coastline back into central Louisiana for the next, couple of days there for any severe threat. But I think that's going to start to wind down. And I think our attention is going to begin to shift out toward the Atlantic.
Yeah, let's see. What have I got here? We can go with the clean IR, I think, at this point. Take a look. This is the new deal, and I don't have the last bit of data on it, but obviously starting to spin up. I don't know. My mind's just not here, Bret. I mean, I don't know why. I know it's June 1 is the official calendar and everything, but I can't wrap my mind around the fact that we're already into tropical season, and
it shouldn't be happening this early. I mean, we've seen it happen this early before. It's usually when we're going into an extremely active season. And that's kind of, a concern. We got very, very warm waters all across the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic. Typically in El Nino seasons that we're headed into, we deal with wind shear and troughing that usually keeps these things sheared apart as they approach the U.S. They'll recurve, go out into the open Atlantic. This one's pretty low latitude for this early in the season. I think this is the earliest. One of the earliest storms to ever develop from that main development region out there. So that's why we're having to watch it. And the models over the last couple of days that we really pay attention to have been shifting this south with its tracks. So we now officially, as of 5 o'clock today, had tropical storm Bret of all things. Yep. Now we have the 11 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time advisory in. Tropical storm Bret is expected to strengthen, and interest in the Lesser Antilles should monitor the system. Located 11.4 north, 43.5 west, about 1,250 or 1,210 miles east of the southern Windward Islands. Maximum sustained winds are at 40, and it's moving west at 18. So that's actually down from 21 a little earlier. And the pressure is down to 1,008 millibars. So this is expected to continue to move toward the west over the next several days. And it is officially forecast to become a hurricane as it approaches the Antilles. Now, something that's changed, it should be a hurricane by Wednesday night. Something that's changed is it's a short-lived hurricane based on what they're currently projecting. The track has shifted south again. It goes south of Puerto Rico Friday evening, and then it is south of the Dominican, nearing the border, the southern border of Haiti by 8 p.m. Saturday. So this left shift is something that we've got to continue to watch too, because if it keeps shifting that tick to the left, then it opens that door up where the Gulf of Mexico is then a potential.
Yeah, and did you see there is another one following it?
Yes.
Another low following it up.
Yes, and in that sense, that one is now up to a 60% chance of development. It looks really good too. Honestly, it looks just as good as the current tropical storm. So 60% chance within 7 days of development, and basically the environmental conditions are expected to get more favorable for further development. Tropical depression could form within the next couple of days as it moves 10 to 15.
Now you got to believe with a huge trough over the east, the southeast, it doesn't get too far to the west before we, see this thing divert a little bit. At least I think into the short term, unless something happens. I know we got this estranged Bermuda high that's sitting up over the central.
Either that, Dave, or I could see one of two things happening. And like you said, with the eastern U.S. trough, you would think it would recurve and it would shoot the gap there in between the high and the Bermuda high, and then the trough of the East Coast and go out in the Atlantic. Or in some cases, we've seen these systems try to undercut the trough and go straight into Central America there. So I'm not highly confident in anything at this moment happening either way. I would say that those two are more likely to happen than a Gulf of Mexico type of system, though.
Yeah, it's a little bit early each month.
At least currently.
The WRF goes nuts there, doesn't it?
Well, see, and that's why I've got to watch it, because see that if it goes in toward Puerto Rico, then I have to then get ready to go on a plane. If there's any indication that we're going to get a Puerto Rico strike, I've got to be down there. So that's an East Coast Puerto Rico strike there. So, and then those islands there also, I've got access to the islands there on the east side. But do you want to be there if it's a Cat 4? Probably not. But that Eastern Caribbean area is very hard if it's not already established. It's a bit of a graveyard. There's a lot of sinking air down there off the mountains of Puerto Rico when a tropical system comes in. If it's not very organized, sometimes you'll see those things degrade a lot.
It's all kind of nuts. Let me see what the mine has. I've got this thing chasing it. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
They're kind of right there together. At least both of those are, and I haven't seen the euro at all, but...
Reading some of the people in the chats. One person's from Devin Clark from Moss Point, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. What's it like there, Devin?
That's kind of what I was wondering.
You got power yet?
Said the power's still out. Power went out right when the tornado touched down. So that makes sense. That tornado down there came off of the bay. The bay's just northwest of town there. Drove over that bridge at Escatawpa a ton of times going into Biloxi. It goes over the Escatawpa River. That's basically where the tornado, it came off the backwaters there, Beardsley Lake in the Escatawpa River. It came off that and then went basically over the point there and went right down into Main Street. I'm trying to see what the name of the church is there that it struck. Oh, just a minute. First Missionary Baptist Church was the church that got struck. Right there by Main Street. Very, very close.
So this is tomorrow. This is day 2. Tomorrow again, we're in a slight risk. Is this right, Brett? From Shreveport.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
that's correct. That's a good chunk of Louisiana and a slight risk tomorrow. Same kind of threats.
And then it moves westward tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, they don't have much of a threat beyond that. Again, just depends on where that boundary really sets up. But yeah, that's I would suspect we're going to see more. And I'll tell you what, I've looked at some modeling from out there off of the Front Range, and there's some very impressive soundings. I bet you're going to see quite a few areas, especially over there in Wyoming, Colorado, that get upgraded for Wednesday.
All right. Personally, I'm against it, all of it, but it's none of, I don't get to make any of those decisions. Also, some high winds on the east side, Titusville back down to Palm Bay today. There's some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts that were there, 62 at the Patrick Air Force Base there a little bit earlier, just outside of Melbourne. Still has some strong winds over to Port St. Lucie here tonight. Those are still moving on to the east. Not to forget, we still have a tornado warning just north and west of Slidell, Louisiana for another 5 minutes. St. Tammany Parish has a severe thunderstorm warning down to the south, but it's also a tornado warning. Moving to the west near Abita Springs, about 12 miles to the northwest of Slidell. It's moving west at about 10 miles per hour, and so kind of says it's not moving at all, hardly. Let me see if I can update the radar here a little bit better. By the way, we got 30-mile-per-hour wind gust here at 75 over 74 there. That's pretty sticky.
Yeah, very, very unstable air mass down there. Continues throughout the next couple of days. I mean, it's just been insane. I know there's excessive heat warnings there across Louisiana, Texas as well, with heat indexes of like 115 over the next couple of days too. It's been really, we've talked about the severe threat just to the west. I mean, it's been unbearable because the dew points there on the western coast are in the 80s. Talking about 80-degree dew point there in Houston with temps that have been in the mid to upper 90s.
That's stupid.
Yeah, everything's stupid in terms of the weather at this point.
Well, it's just crazy. It's just so odd. I'm just not in that mood just yet. But I haven't really. Hello from Boaz. Hey to you there at the Holy Donut in Boaz. Is that a church?
Who
or
knows?
A restaurant? Is it
Potentially.
The Holy Donut. Anyway, good to talk to you. Somebody's headed over to Tennessee tomorrow. Oh, that's Devin.
That's Devin. That's the person that was there in down in Moss Point.
Yeah.
Let's see. When should we be watching the Gulf Coast? When should the Gulf Coast start watching Tropical Storm Bret? Well, honestly, it's not something you should worry about right now. I believe, again, as David and I talked about, there's quite a bit of troughiness across the east. You would think there's a couple of possibilities. It undercuts that trough, goes into Central America, doesn't impact the Gulf Coast. It interacts with that trough and curves out, and then also gets sheared to death. Another possibility.
That'd be a tough sell to see it come into the Gulf of Mexico. Like you said, it'd have to undercut, and I don't know that the high retrogrades at all. I think the high is supposed to be digging even further to the south, the Atlantic high, digging further to the south a little bit, and I suppose that could happen, and you get more of a westward vector there, but I don't. That'd be a tough sell for me. But again, I'm the guy who thought, I didn't know that tornado was going to be that large last night either. Just looking at it on radar, that one fooled me a little bit, sadly. And kind of a couple of people have mentioned people from over in that area, and certainly we're thinking about them. We're thinking about everybody who's being affected by the weather. I know there was a small tornado today too, and I haven't heard any more about the Destin tornado, although I know that was pretty close to the outlets there on the east side over by the tower there. A couple of people, the water tower that's so famous there, the Sandestin water tower, the green one.
Yeah.
A couple people from over there said they could see it, and talked to a friend of mine from the Weather Channel who was down there as well, and he said there was reason to believe it was right there behind the outlets there for a while, although I think the official spot was recorded over by the Home Depot. Or the
Yeah, I mean,
Walmart, wasn't it? The Walmart there.
yeah, it was really. I mean, you had a good view of it. If you're familiar with where the outlet malls there are on 98, I think that's a little east to the Mid Bay Bridge, going toward Miramar. I think you had a really good view of it right there. I saw some imagery of it as well. It was a pretty stout little tornado there for just a little while
Yeah.
before spinning out, but it was. It's probably EF1, EF2 type tornado, depending on what it hit. I haven't heard a lot about any damage. I really haven't heard anything about any injuries there from that tornado or the ones that were in Baldwin County, Alabama earlier. But the one in Moss Point, that one was quite a bit nastier.
Yeah, this is by the outlets. We're talking about the outlets right here. There's a Chick-fil-A there now on the corner, but this is as you go on eastward towards Sandestin or toward the wharf. If you keep going on to the east over in that direction, if you go westward, this is Seascape over here, Stewart Lake right there. Seascape, and you know what? See, so that was all right there, and then what was it? Last week, there was a bear that was swimming out here into the Gulf of Mexico that came on shore right about there during the day. It ended up over in the golf course there, the Emerald Bay Golf Course on the east side of the bridge. There is some. I've talked to a couple of people down there who say it came from over here on the other side of the East Pass. I mean, this is the Destin Bridge right here. This is where everybody goes to Crab Island and acts foolish. And then this over here, this is called Princess Beach. Actually, when I was a kid, this was Princess Beach. But there was a radome over here, and the bear supposedly came from over here and swam all the way down the beach and came there. And so you've had a bear sighting and a tornado, two things that don't happen in any month along the Gulf Coast. It happened this week. So oddities that are going on. That's Choctawhatchee Bay there in the Mid Bay Bridge, if you will. 331 bridge off to the east. But tornadoes, that's just an abnormality down here, unless it's tropical, and it wasn't tropical at all. This came from the north.
Yeah, 100% non-tropical.
Yep.
So very wild setup for this time of the year, and I don't know. I don't know that I've ever seen a setup with this many days that has had the impacts.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so either. And again, I've had my mind. I went on a vacation. That's the weird thing about the weather, isn't it, Brad? I mean, I know you don't get to go on very many vacations. I went on one. I was gone for like 8 days, and I was out of the mix. And it's amazing, a day or two out of the mix of the weather when you're not really following it, how weird things can get and things can happen because it didn't. Yeah, somebody did in my ear said, "What's a vacation?"
You literally take it when you can, and if you're in my shoes, when we go anywhere on a vacation or a trip, we literally take all my gear, and it can turn into, I've got to go rent a car. It's time to go to work. They stay, and I go. So,
I know that happens to you a lot. Yeah. And
yeah.
So, so the oddity and all that was I kind of didn't pay attention to the weather for that week. And when I got back, it's like I've moved. It's like I'd gone to some other country because of all the stuff that had happened. And so now we've gone from, which we really didn't have a defining moment in the deep south of the southeastern United States this year. We kind of rushed into summer, and it still hasn't been like summer. I remember early June's being up near 100 degrees. It's been one of the coolest 45 days or so into the state of Alabama, the Tennessee Valley in particular. Some really cool low humidity days for the first part of summer, and really haven't just worked into what you would call just the typical summertime that we have into the southeast. El Nino, La Nina, whatever you want to blame it on. The El Camino, I don't care what you blame it on, but it's just been an oddity that's been going on. And really one of the reasons I love the weather, because I love how odd it is. It's kind of, tornado. Somebody wrote tornado in Destin, ? Yes, sir. Were there
100%.
two? Was there one or two?
I know there was at least one. I know there were a lot of reports of waterspouts down there, so I haven't seen anything other than the one. I mean, that one tornado, though, was a stovepipe-looking type tornado. It looked like it contained a legit mesocyclone. It wasn't your regular waterspout type.
Oh, no. No, and the one, what I saw over in Mobile, too, because there was a damage report over in Bon Secours, West Bay, it's, what's that called? The Weak River. but
Yep.
it's the Bon Secours River, and it is right there just outside of the Intercoastal Waterway. Lulu's. Is Lulu still down there?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, from Lulu's on the Intercoastal, just off to the west, that's Bon Secours. Oyster Bay, Bon Secours River runs right up through there, and Week Bay is up there as well. And those were 3 different data points that I saw where there was an official sighting there. At least there was a storm report from there of a tornado. And again, that was, came out of the north. It was not a waterspout turned. It was a mesocyclone dropped tornado that took place there today. So, super oddities that are going on. If you look at, look at some of these meso sites here. I mean, we got 77. There's 85 over 73 in Macomb still tonight. Now, see, I didn't know that either, Brett. On the west side of this boundary, look at that. It's 90 over 77 at Baton Rouge. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's a correct
Jesus.
reading there. That's a ton. That is a ton of heat and humidity there.
Yeah. 76 over 73 in Pascagoula. You got 70 over 70 at Mobile right now and in the mid-70s. And meanwhile, if you go, like I said, you go a little further to the north here, we got some cool, much cooler temperatures at 73 over 64 in Rome, Georgia.
Right.
Look at that. Chattanooga's at 70 over 68. It's lovely. Comparatively so. I know it just rained up here around Harriman, going up to Cumberland Plateau. It rained a little bit, but it's 66 over 65. Jesus.
Yeah, it's quite humid to the west, and again a little bit more tame now up into central Alabama. The last few days we've been absolutely humid, sweltering here. Had a person ask about Dauphin Island down on the coastline for the next few days, and basically it's going to calm down for a few days down in that region. You might see some pop-up storms, but we're not going to see the flooding rainfall that we've been seeing, and we're not going to see the tornado threat that we've seen over the last several days. So the good news is hopefully shouldn't be as much of a boundary convergence there that sets the stage for storms. You can deal with afternoon type pop-ups, but the big time weather that we've been having looks like it'll shift a little bit further west and then maybe die on out as we go in the next couple of days.
That'd be nice. Because again, I know a lot of people plan a week's vacation. This is that time of the year when everybody takes, some sort of a week after Memorial Day or whatever the case may be. You took your time to go to the beach, and it'd sure be nice if that were the case. Again, heavy rainfall out here near the Chandelier Islands. You can see these purples here, indicative of over 10 inches of rain just south of Bay St. Louis. And Gretna, now we have a new severe thunderstorm warning, it looks like, over here for Gretna. This is going to be for the next 38 minutes for St. Bernard. It's going to be Orleans, St. Bernard, Jefferson, and Plaquemine Parish. You're underneath a severe thunderstorm warning there. Plaquemine, southward in particular, 70-mile-per-hour winds. Now with this, moving south at 45 miles per hour, 70-mile-per-hour winds. I wonder where they had a report. Let's see. I see 60 right there. 64.
64, yeah.
Yeah. Bienville. Bayou Bienville.
Yep.
What does that mean? Mesonet Station, Bayou Bienville. Vertical lift?
Hold on,
As a remark?
Looking for that report that you're looking at there. Is that a new one?
908.
No, I'm trying to see where that thing's at. Let me...
I don't know that I've ever seen a vertical lift as a emphasis on the syllable. I don't know that I've ever seen that, especially without a...
Let's see here. Okay, so that's down. Oh, okay, that's down there near New
Almost
Orleans.
as Jean Lafitte.
Gotcha. I don't know. It's not popped up on my end for some reason. Don't know why, but anyway. It's definitely windy down there. That outflow boundary pushed through there. I wonder if it had looks like it might have had a thump with it when it came through there. Headed toward Laplace now.
Your favorite spot in all the world.
Absolutely.
We should have put something together. Is that still on the internet the whole night?
I'm sure it is. I mean, I'm sure my dash cam was recording a lot of it too.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was still on your site. You folks who are out there, if you want to see something, it's not funny because everything changed for that. It was Hurricane Ian. Brett and I were down there. It was sort of
Ida.
Ida. Excuse me, Ida. 3 letters.
Yeah.
Brett and I. Brett took me. It was kind of like my. I maybe last hurrah. At least I sold it that way. I said, Brett, if you'll take me for my last hurrah, because I don't think I'd be dumb enough to take a trip on my own back into a hurricane again. But it was I'd been through a couple of situations like that before in my life, I guess. Brett and I had been through several before that. I couldn't begin to name them.
Danny.
Danny, my first one that I covered, Hurricane Danny, minimal hurricane, 21 inches of rain there, just outside of Gulf Shores. I know it rained for 3 days straight. But I saw 21 inches doesn't mean a whole lot down at the beach. 21 inches anywhere else would mean a lot, but.
Right. No, the drainage down there is so good. They had some areas that had high volume of water earlier on. It takes a ton. You have to have 3, 4, 5 inches per hour for that stuff to really hang out. And it looks like those tropical type rainfall may be what's happening down there around Slidell right now. They've already had between 2 and 3.5 inches, and they're expecting another 1 to 3.5 inches in an hour. So they're seeing rainfall rates that are just extremely high down there right now. So the interstate is likely dealing with problems. The drainage is really flat there, so parts of the interstate are not going to drain off as quick during this flooding type rainfall. And that area runs down there basically across, going into New Orleans on the main bridge, and then you've got Interstate 12 that runs there on the north side of Slidell and moves toward Covington. So 12 has got a lot of construction. I've been down there recently. A lot of construction still going on in that area. So flooding rainfall down there is going to take place, it looks like, for the next little while till the convection begins to calm some.
Anyway, if you get a chance, go to on Bret's site, on the Live Storms Media site. Subscribe, first of all, but dig in there somewhere and see if you can find, I think it's 5 or 6 hours worth of continuous video. But we went through some super high wind there while we were just kind of ho-hum. We were deciding on which side of the Home Depot we were going to get on. A lot of stuff happened. We avoided a pole that looked like a metal pole that was in the awning that looked like it would have hurt somebody if we'd have been in the path of that. But we rode it out just by kind of staying on the far side of the wind vector, so the wind went over the top of our heads for most of that. But it was, a fairly eventful night. Somebody just mentioned Ivan. No, Ivan was an Alabama thing. That I remember it was Opal. I went to bed. I was on television. I went to bed, and Opal was and I woke up, and it was a what? That's what I remember about Opal. And I lost a boat. I had a boat that was covered up down in Mobile for that storm that I never saw again.
Opal was a crazy one. I was in 4th grade for Opal. So
oh my God! Oh my God, Brett. Yeah, I was on the air at Channel 6, and it was just tame enough for me to go to bed. I left. I'd been on the air continuous because we were having tornado warnings.
Yep.
As far north as Birmingham, and I went to bed, and then when I woke up, it went up 20, 25 miles an hour by the time I got back up.
We went to school that morning, and I remember where everybody was kind of talking about it, and it began to start flooding pretty early in the day, and we got out of school because everybody was on there, and when it started to move toward the northeast at 20 plus miles an hour, and then it jumped to 150 mile per hour winds, everybody began to freak out, which that storm, that was one of the ones I can remember that we had a 100 mile an hour wind gust that night in Montgomery. I was living in Coosa County at that time, and I remember just trees snapping all night long.
Yeah.
So
a lot, and all those big hardwood trees down into South Alabama too. That 100-year-old trees that came up at the root ball.
Yep.
Friend of mine lost down in Aliceville, or not Aliceville, it was even further south than that. It was down at Pine Level.
Yep.
Level. lost a bunch of trees down there in Clark County, I guess it was. I mean, that was a devastating storm. And then we had Ivan. Somebody mentioned Ivan. We also had Ivan as well. But
Ivan the Terrible.
Yep. Bad storm then too, and then so if you want to dig into, we got some first time people on here tonight, and I appreciate you checking in with us. Bret and I, we were doing this quite often a while back when we had severe weather, and we still do this on occasion when it comes to it. And we both were just kind of talking today about having so much to talk about tonight. And with everything that's going on across the Gulf Coast and having the thing out into the Atlantic that is headed on to the west, and we're just now getting a start into the tropical season. If you don't, let's just pretend you don't know who Bret is. Like I said, Bret was in school when he and I first met. He was in elementary school. Oh, my God.
I mean, it's been a minute. That's been a while ago. So if that tells you that, David's really, really old,
oh my God.
He's still 6 feet above right now, but he's really old.
It's a question mark every morning I get up. It's when my right foot comes out. It's like,
is there a banana peel near the bed?
Yeah, it's a close call. But yeah, and you and I covered, we covered another hurricane or two down there when.
Yeah, we were, I know you went down with another guy, but we were down there for Hurricane 2008. There was Gustav that was down in that area.
Yeah. That dude never paid me.
Isaac was another one in 12.
Isaac.
Did some of that. Ike was another one, I think, that was in, I can't remember if it was in 2008 as well. I think it was. That thing was massive. I think that was the largest wind field that we had ever seen in the Gulf of Mexico. That was a really big one.
I flew into Ike. Remember over Western Cuba is where I sent that thing down.
I think it was a Cat 5 at that point, right?
Yeah. The coolest part of that, the coolest part of that was getting to hear the conversations between the Cuban weather station there and the folks in the aircraft that I was in, hearing them talk, which there's no other time when we are allowed to fly over Cuba, folks, than a hurricane. It's not allowed, and we were flying over western Cuba and having conversations with the Cuban authorities down there on the western side of Cuba while flying through the eye of a hurricane. I got a lot of video of that as well that I ought to throw up, because some of that is pretty good to hear me crying. And I still think I hold the record for the largest cooler to ever board a Hercules J from a civilian.
Imagine that.
They let me bring a cooler on board, and I brought more sandwiches than I fed everybody several times over. But one of my college roommates, Alan Seals, went on that trip with us and a couple other people. Yeah. I don't know why we were talking about that, but because we got first-time people who were on here. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, I just got a little bit of information since we got an active situation down there. If you want to zoom into that stuff there into Slidell area and Covington area, down there in St. Tammany and Tangipahoa parishes in southeast Louisiana, we got some wind damage, apparently some trees down on some homes there in the Covington area, and it looks like that flood warning there. I don't see a flood emergency, but I'm seeing some impact language now going up for life-threatening flooding, creeks, streams, urban areas, highways, streets, and underpasses. So that is still an ongoing and potentially developing situation down there. It's already ongoing in terms of the flooding, but it's definitely getting a little bit worse at the moment.
Yeah, in fact, I'll back the radar up here. I'm going to back the radar up. We'll just do an hour's worth on here. Let me just, I can just do this the old-fashioned way, and I'll draw a couple of lines there, but put this back into motion again. Actually, they don't allow you to do that anymore, but there you go. You just see it doesn't move. There's no real movement to the west. I know it says it's moving to the west at 10. That's baloney.
Right.
it's kind of drifting, I guess you could say, because it is probably moving out of Picayune here at the moment. But
There's a pretty big area there, David, at Abita Springs down to Slidell there from Louisiana 36 down to I-12 that's just been pounded the last hour, 3 to 4 inch rainfall swath in the last hour. So that's your rainfall rate there. 1 hour rainfall rate there, northwest side of Slidell, especially from Pearl River down to Slidell, back up toward Covington. That section there between I-12 and Louisiana 36, St. Tammany area, 434, very, very extreme rainfall rates going on there right now. So I would not be surprised. And also, not to mention, some of the river basins down there are going to get a ton of water. Wouldn't be surprised to see, some pretty bad flooding end up coming out of that here pretty soon.
that's wild. Again, I see another 60. I don't see a 70, but there's another 64. That's the same one. Let's see, or that's the same information. Algiers here. This is going to be the Port Nola administration. It says warehouse, I guess. But this is Orleans Parish again. 52 mile per hour wind there just a few moments ago. That was at 10 o'clock tonight, a 52 mile per hour wind. And some higher winds here as well that are coming in from time to time up into that area. Very frequent. This is Lake Bourne right here. The Mickey Mouse, upside down Mickey Mouse, is Lake Bourne. The Wrigley's up here to the north, which is the small little area where the water comes in and out of Lake Pontchartrain up to the causeway. This is called the Wrigley's. There of Lake Catherine. There's the Wrigley's over to Jackson Landing on the north side. This is where the water comes in and out every tidal period that they have coming in and out of Lake Pontchartrain. And it is pouring cats and dogs. And look at all that lightning. It's almost just lightning strike after the lightning strike from Covington, like you said, to Mandeville, and that Pearl River area there. It looks like, and I don't know if I got like.
It's really crazy looking at that right now. The amount of just lightning coming out of that area.
So the digital 1 hour is saying like 2.9.
I mean, yeah.
I guess there's probably still some hail in there, but
let's see.
That's all from Bay St. Louis down to the south. So, let's see, we have 8 alerts, many of which are flash flood. Mecklenburg. Somebody asked about that. Let's see what we got. We got a Kannapolis flash flood warning up here. Iredell, Mecklenburg, and Rowan counties in the Piedmont of North Carolina. This is a flash flood warning at the moment here. Looks like 1 to 2 inches of rain that fell earlier today. See, that's the difference between just a little bit of topography. 1 to 3 inches of rain has caused a flash flood warning up here into the Carolinas. Obviously, you get a lot of channeling that goes on up there, so all the water likes to rush into one spot. But you got 1 to 3 there causing a problem into North Carolina. And we got 1 to 3 an hour falling down here along the Gulf Coast. It's, I'm sure it's causing some problems, but depends on where you are.
Absolutely. Not quite the drainage that you have down on the coastline either. Again, you got a big lake there with Lake Pontchartrain, and as you said, Lake Bourne there off the eastern side where a lot of this water can flow off. But when it's coming down that quickly down in Louisiana, even they flood. Especially on the interstate systems up there. You're going to see low-lying areas going to water in quite a hurry. And that band is still not really moving. It's kind of back-built. Thought the outflow boundary pushing to the west might influence that to move further west, but not yet. It's still got a tail of convection that goes all the way up toward Kentwood almost and trailing right down into Slidell. I don't see it ending in the next hour or two.
Mm-mm. You see, it says the expected rainfall rate is 1 to 3.5 an hour. That's pretty good variance.
I think we got some video here as well. Just was talking to our producer here in the background, which is Jarvis, who does a good job. I think Jarvis has got some video we're going to go to that is down around Moss Point, Mississippi from earlier today from one of our stringers, Derek Smith. He shot this. This is the tornado damage down around portions of Main Street. Brandon, I don't know if you chopped this up a little bit or not, but we can roll with it. You can see there basically having to walk through town. Got a lot of damage there to structures, trees. Some of our family members actually live down there and took quite
a
bit of damage there. In the local area, you can see that's that type of damage there. Those structures is at least EF2 type damage. Snap power poles laying all in the streets there. You can see we had problems this afternoon, David. Is that big supercell thunderstorm that just slow mover too, just kind of sat and spun over that area.
Insane. Hey, that's crazy. That is not what you would I saw a boat too that I don't think is supposed to be on the railroad track there. A lot of power outages likely still ongoing there into that region, and with those power lines that are down like that, and I don't think that's something that'll be fixed really quick, but I don't know, is that a person? Is that...
Yeah, you can also see, we had a pretty raw incident here. All the injuries seem to be minor, but you had people that were being taken out on stretchers, and some even taken out on some Humvees. I don't think there's anybody on there right now. I think that's just equipment.
Like equipment, thank goodness.
At that point in time, but I think that they were moving to get in position to get some of those folks that might have needed some help. But you can see that's a lot of damage.
That's a lot of damage, and just so if you're just kind of analyzing this, Bret, let's talk about this, because a lot of times you see different kinds of damage, and I know you've seen as much drone footage as you've shot in your lifetime. You and I have talked about this several times too, about the difference between tornado damage and straight line wind damage. And just by looking at this, I could make observations about this, but I'd rather you do it. Let's how do you know this was a tornado?
Well, a lot of the trees you see twisting and snapping in some areas, and you also can see there off in the distance right there, those homes look untouched.
Yep.
So this is a very narrow type of path, a couple 100 yards wide most likely, but you see the type of damage within that path. It's pretty intense. It's going to take a little bit more than straight line winds typically to cause this type of damage over a widespread area, unless you have a big derecho or something of those sorts. And also you see in some cases, especially when you have structures that may not be quite as well built, you'll see structure collapse, or you'll see part of the structures be taken out. Yeah, look at that. It looks like a 69 Mustang there.
Wow.
You'll see part of those structures either collapse or be damaged, but you may not see a ton of damage from the trees themselves that surround that structure. It takes a lot to do tree damage. People really don't understand, to get, especially some of those younger, more mature trees, not the older ones. They tend to crack because sometimes they've been rotting from the inside out.
Yeah.
But those pencil pines, especially, if you see those things snapped, kind of like, I can't really show the video right now, but we saw a lot of that mowed off at the base this morning, pencil pines.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to do that. A lot.
Yeah. Yes. And, I mean, one of the first things I see is like the tin roof that's up in the tree. I mean, how classic is that when you got like a strip of tin roof up into the tree? But one of the other things too is the thing that Bret just pointed out as well, is that you have snapping. Now, a lot of times straight line winds, when you get a straight line wind, it's a situation that becomes aggressively worse and worse and worse over a period of time. It's not an immediate force that takes place. A straight line wind event will start out with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds, but it's a gradual increase that takes place. And by that time, a lot of trees will fall over at the root ball. They'll fall over, especially if there's any kind of liquid that's been on the ground for a while, saturation at all. The difference between that and a tornado coming out with immediate 150 mile per hour winds is that the tree doesn't have time to fall naturally from the root ball down, and it has to snap. And so oftentimes you'll see that. This is the inside of a church, obviously, that is damaged here, which again reminds me, Brett, I remember your drone flying through a church when we were down there in Louisiana. We had video of a church that was damaged like this with some of their music. I mean, these people's lives that you're looking at here that are upturned for, forever, really.
Well, you see the roof there. The roof's gone off that church pretty much. You see those steel rafters up above, but a lot of that roofing material is gone.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of residents talked to Derek down there this afternoon in that area. It was a pretty substantial tornado. Literally came off the Escatawpa River and came down into town, and it literally was touching down as it came on the point, and it reached max intensity right around the Midtown area on Main Street.
Hey, Brandon, is there audio on this? Can you back it up? Can we hear what this fella has to say?
Yeah, there's definitely audio there if we want to.
Back it up. Let's just do it raw. Play it and let's hear what this guy had to say.
If I can just get your first and last name and how to spell it.
Bobby Wesley,
Yeah, I can't hear it,
B-O-B-B-Y.
Brandon. I don't know that it's coming across the feed
W-E-S-L-E-Y.
here.
Bobby, what happened out here today?
Our dude's working on it.
I'm
here.
assuming a tornado.
There you go.
It seems like I took a direct hit. The damage you see behind me and side, all around, every tree I had on the property was snapped.
What's the condition of your house?
Just some roof damage on the west side of the back of the roof, and water leaked in on the back side of the house, but the front of the house is pretty much intact.
So
Making sure he's
this is
live,
gonna be-
but I can hear
what
him.
are we, 2 hours after this has happened, right? About
Yeah.
2 hours ago?
Right, around three, so.
So it's maybe 3 hours ago. What are your emotions like right now?
Pretty calm. It happened back in 2005 with Katrina. Same thing, we lost everything.
Oh my God!
So
Did you hear
this
him?
particular time, I guess I just changed my zip code.
I'm listening.
So he related this to Katrina.
What was it like when the tornado hit? Can you describe
Well,
the
actually,
conditions?
we were in bed watching TV, and our bedroom was the front side of the house, and I heard a thump, so I get up and look. I said, "Oh my God!" My wife was asleep. She slept through the whole thing until she heard the big noise and jumped up. I said, "Well, we took a direct hit," and from that point
Wow.
on, we just started gathering pails, trying to stop some of the water from getting on the beds on the west side of the house, on the floor as much as we could. But I couldn't go upstairs because the water was coming from up there. It was dripping down, so
Wow.
power's been out for, I guess, 4 hours, maybe longer.
Wow.
But right now we still don't have power, but
See,
I'm
that's
not
amazing
trembling
to me,
or
Brett.
shaking or
I mean,
nervous
here's
or
a
anything.
gentleman
Everything,
who just
tree
relayed what
falling and
happened
nobody's
today.
over
It's
there.
no Katrina, but in his
But other than that,
mind,
we're fine.
It's his
We're
Katrina.
that's his
healthy.
Katrina. And
Yep.
we often
Everything
forget
else.
about that kind of stuff when we roll up and we go, this is not that big of a deal. But for somebody, it's their Katrina. He's gonna, when he's telling this story a couple of years from now, he's gonna go, "We had Katrina, but then we had this thing last year."
Yeah, I mean it's nutty. I mean, again, to the degree that these people literally are, impacted. I mean, this is the way that they see
Yeah.
it. Like you said, it's their Katrina.
That's unbelievable. There, is there another piece of video that you know of, Brett, that we need to see that you've got in your coffers?
Oh yeah, I mean we've got a couple of interviews there, but we've got as you can see that there's some more of that damage, David. That's just incredibly unfortunate for somebody. That's parts of their home, and
Yeah.
we had several people who Derek talked to down there in the Moss Point area. We got some flooding video over from portions of Mobile County too.
Can we show that?
Yeah, Brandon, if you want to get that video, the vehicle submerger.
From Tyler?
Yeah, if
Can we show
Brandon wants to get that, we can run that across as well. I could see that right there is one that we probably should show.
Well, this is on my computer because this is the DOT camera from down
Yeah.
there in Mobile Bay, and I don't know if you know a lot about this or not. I just grabbed this a little bit earlier, but this is what the water was doing. It was so high there. This is on the west side of Mobile Bay. Is this I-10, Brett?
That was the causeway right there. Yeah, that's at the causeway. I'm very familiar with that area. But to be honest with you, if there's a tropical system coming in, myself and guy used to work with us a lot, meteorologist Logan Poole, who's now at the Weather Service there in Jackson. We put cameras up right here on purpose because you can see there. Look at the waves crashing.
That's
At
nuts.
high tide there, sometimes that will flood in a small manner just at high tide. So you add torrential downpours over the area as well, and you can see the type of backup that you've got there going to the south. That's not far from the battleship there, I don't think, David.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, for a second, I thought I saw the battleship. Is that
Yeah, I
it?
think you do in the background
Off
back
in the
there.
background, yeah, on the left.
Yeah. So you can see those cars are going through very, very high water there
God.
at that intersection.
Yeah.
So
And then the video. Do you know about Tyler's video of the flooding?
yeah, we had a flash flood emergency today across portions of Mobile County. I think this is going to be near the Dolphin Island Parkway where we had a lot of cars go under, get submerged. You can see very deep water there, and we also saw some water enter some structures. But look at that truck! Look at the nose of that truck right there. It's gone down. Got a
Yeah.
boat hooked to it, I think,
Trailer.
and
He
or a
went in the
trailer.
ditch. He didn't know where the road was, so he went straight into the ditch.
Yep, he missed the road there. That's Tyler Smith's video. Did really good job down there this afternoon. It makes me want to drown with that 3.29 gas price per gallon. But um, you know,
But look at that. I mean, that's pretty incredible, especially down there near Dolphin Island. I mean, there's tons of places where this water could go, but it was coming down so hard that it didn't have a chance to run off. So
yeah,
there's the boat doctor says he can help.
yep. A lot of areas down there look like this afternoon.
Oh my God, look at that.
Lots of water. I mean, that's a flat area, and it usually drains pretty good, but it was coming down so quickly. I mean, we had training intense thunderstorms, just like you're seeing over Slidell right now with these 3 to 4 inch per hour type rainfall rates. That's the kind of thing that they were dealing with across portions of Mobile and Baldwin County today. And this is what the results are of that. So, you probably want to think before driving down into those floodwaters, because again, that truck right there, promise you, if that gets up in the engine, you're done. It gets in that breather box, that engine's locking up. It's hydrolocked. I know too many,
You know,
let's say, storm chasers that have hydrolocked their vehicles in hurricanes or flooding situations. I just completely submerged mine, not a hydrolock, So yeah, that's not good news. Never good news, and that's you just don't know how deep that water is, especially here at this last shot where he's looking down the road. He pans down that road. You can't really tell how deep that is.
Nor do you know where the ditch is, or obviously one man found out he didn't know where the ditch was.
Nope, exactly. So crazy day, crazy event, crazy week. Literally from North Texas, from all the devastating tornado over near Perryton, to the tornado in Lewin last night, to the one in Moss Point today. Just again, it's just, I don't know really how to put it into words. Just unprecedented June weather.
Hey, BJ, take the third monitor over here, the radar again, because I want to look something up on my iPad here. One other thing I wanted to look at real quick, but again, the outflow over in Laplace right now, you can see it there where the wind is ejecting off to the west. And again, we have no real steering current to take this stuff anywhere, so it stays in a corridor there up and down from the northwest to the south and east, back out over Port Sulphur and beyond. And these rainfall rates, 1 to 3.5 inches, being reported here within the eastern side of Lake Borgne, the northeastern side of Lake Pontchartrain, all up through this Lacombe Mandeville area, the Pearl River area, where it's just coming down in bucket loads there, and still very problematic there across all of that area, and I don't think that's going to change very much at all. Hold on one second.
Got a bad flood report now coming out of Slidell. Cars stalled in floodwater on Gauze Boulevard in front of the Hobby Lobby. That's from Fire and Rescue near Slidell, St. Tammany Parish.
St. Tammany Parish.
That's a very that's over near Park Place. I know where that's at. That's a pretty busy area. So I mean, I know it's 10:30 at night, but apparently there's still some people out there. It's right there off of 10 and let's see, is that 10 and 12? Yeah, it's right there just south of the 10 and 12 intersection, pretty much in the downtown area of Slidell, just south of Highway 12 or Interstate 12. So
Interstate 12.
long and south. Cause Boulevard is 190. That gives you a better idea. Highway 190 is
Yeah.
Golf Boulevard there.
If you look into Bourbon Street right now, it's not even raining. If you pull that up, this is Bourbon Street, Earthcam Bourbon Street right there. No rain is falling at the moment. A few people walking around acting like nothing really happening there. I don't know what that establishment is there off in the distance, but Brett, I know you've been there a few times. I've seen you.
I think it's down on Bourbon right there, right?
That's Bourbon Street, yeah.
That is Bourbon Street. Yeah, it's pretty active camera. There's a lot of people out there starting to pick up a little bit. Got some shower activity behind that outflow boundary. The
Those
rain
are all
won't,
people from Alabama.
probably so. I'm curious as
That
to
guy right there, I don't know. I don't think he knows where he's from.
probably doesn't know where he's at, to be honest with you. But who knows at this point? It's still early in the night. The night is young. It's gonna rain quite a bit though, just because that boundary's come through. We're seeing shower activity pick up. It's probably going to get worse, but Bourbon Street doesn't cool down in heavy rains, so it is what it is until it really starts to have a river coming down the street there.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we covered quite a bit. We had the flooding and the tornado damage today. We've had, we're looking at the tropics. The Atlantic is cranking up early as per usual. It seems like the last 5 or 6 years. Not sure it's going to stay that way with El Nino poking in. We'll see. We are still in a presence of very warm Atlantic temperatures, Gulf temperatures, but we got a pretty good eastern U.S. trough. Maybe that will detour Bret and whatever the future system is away from the United States, but that's going to be something we have to look at probably a solid 10 days down the road before we get anywhere into range of, really thinking about U.S. impacts.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering that too. They did just issue a new mezzo, by the way, for that area that does cover the flash flooding again for southeastern Louisiana, New Orleans in particular. There, another 2 to 3 hours across areas of southeastern Louisiana. The flooding is still. Let me pop this up here. This is the new mezzo that they just issued, and it's a water mezzo.
Yep.
Flash flooding will remain likely for another 2 to 3 hours across this southern and eastern part of Louisiana. Some of those southeastern parishes still getting hit pretty hard. New Orleans, all back through the rest of that area there and down to the south, because that stuff, it just isn't moving very much at all. What was over in Mobile earlier in the day today is what this is built of. So it is, or has during the day today, actually moved a little bit further down to the south and to the east. And one more thing I wanted to show you. I think I had found a camera, the Slidell camera here, that was live a few moments ago at the I-59, I-12 split. Was pretty wicked looking. And please come up. Let me see. Now it doesn't want to show. Let's see if that one does.
Yeah, I'm looking around down there myself a little bit. Looks like maybe that band's trying to trail a little bit to the southwest of the radar site now, which is hopefully going to pull Slidell proper out of the woods in the next hour or so. We can hope get that over Pontchartrain, but then you got to worry about New Orleans, because that's going to point that band right down into New Orleans. But one thing that I noticed on that that was very important on that mesoscale graphic that you showed, if you notice, there is a instability boundary. There's kind of a gradient. There's very high instability on the western side of this band that's feeding it about 3,000 to 4,000 joules of CAPE. As you cross that axis to the east, it's been worked over with all the weather that they've had today, and instability's dropped into the near 1,000 joules, and you got a lot of convective inhibition there. That's the reason you see it very, very dry east of that band. As that band continues to trend to the west, it just looks to me like it's got plenty of fuel to go, fuel for the fire, so to speak.
Yeah, up and down the line there. So That is a continuation, and I appreciate we had a bunch of new people watching tonight. Thank you very much for everything you've said. A couple of people said they just popped us on and they didn't turn us off very quickly, so that's good news. And again, we always try to have some fresh video for you here. Tyler had some great video tonight. I'm glad we were able to show you that. All those live traffic cams, every one of them that have popped up from the actual DOT department, they're not showing up very well. So I don't know if that's weather related in itself, but yeah, I mean, in as far as the communications go, it doesn't look very good. I've popped up 3 or 4 of them there. The ones in Slidell don't seem to be showing up very well at all.
I didn't know if we had any, and I know we can get access to use some of the earth cams there. I didn't know if there were any earth cams in that area.
I don't think there is in Slidell. I showed you the earth cam there in New Orleans proper, but
Gotcha. That's what I was just looking for to see. Let's see, I don't think there is, but don't think there is.
Just the one that was out of Bourbon Street there.
Yep. Yeah, I see a bunch of. Actually, I see a whole bunch of New Orleans cameras. A ton of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 cameras now available through them. That's pretty cool.
One of them's at the Cat's Meow, though, and I don't think.
Yep. Sure. Well, I mean, if they're going to put it there, actually, three of them are
at the Cat's Meow.
3 of them are, yeah, different views. That's one of them you were showing, actually.
These DOT cams. There's a bunch of DOT cams up there in Slidell coming off of I-10, but none of them seem to be working very well. The one over the Calcasieu River right there.
Yeah.
On the bridge at Calcasieu, that's just old.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I see. Let me see. Wow. Yeah, I can get access to some cameras down there, but I don't know that.
You need to look at them first.
Yeah, probably so. Just because,
well,
you never know.
We're going to go to the Cat's Meow. Just hold on to your britches there.
Let's go ahead. We might as well. I had a cat try to kill me on my live stream last night, so we might as well just go ahead.
I know, I got a lot of feedback about that.
I did too. I had a lot of very good feedback from that, so
Yeah, this is the this is the balcony of the Cat's Meow there in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I'm not making light of it, but there's nobody out there, so it's not been a pretty day or a pretty evening. Anyway, it's 86 degrees, if that's right, if the temperature's right. So it's quite muggy there.
And you see the wet roadways there too, in the lighting there. It's been raining there off and on, and not a lot of people out there. You see you can tell it's Bourbon Street there though, because you have the barricades there on the roadway. I actually watched a guy run through those barricades last time I was there. It was a slow speed chase, like 10 miles per hour. The cops chased him down the street at 10 for a while.
Huh.
Yeah.
1985. This isn't going in my book. 1985? No.
What about 85?
1980, 1990, 1989. 1989. I was one more street down. Not this street, but one more street down on Bourbon Street. This is when digital cameras first came out, and I don't think our producers ever heard this story. Digital cameras had just come out. Kodak had just come out with a brand new digital camera that took about 12 pictures and died because it was so much battery consumption at that point. Right. It was actually a pretty good camera. It was the first. I paid $1,200 for it. It's the first digital camera to ever come out. So I'm down there with, and I'm just going to say, some prominent Alabama football players who were recruits. Some you'd know if I said their names out loud. I was a chaperone for 3 recruits that had come in, and we've been fishing all that. Whoa, watch out.
There you go.
Okay. I held my breath. I don't know about
What's the worry? I don't see.
One time on Weather Nation, we did that. We went to the left, and I saw lightning.
Look at the lightning in the upper left. That's what I was just about to say.
One
Seen a
time
lot of lightning.
I was on the air at a place, and when we went to the left, and there were a lot of different people kissing on that thing right there, and it was Mardi Gras. It was Mardi Gras.
I mean, it's Bob.
No, that was automated.
That's
Anyway,
great.
Brandon, don't ruin my story. So I'm down here, and there's a little scuffle going on in the street. This was Fat Tuesday, actually. So down there, and the police there, law enforcement, there was a guy who was, we'll have to get off that. There was a guy who was urinating on the side of the building. That's all.
Oh.
Yeah. On the side, down one of the streets, and police came up. And anyway, I thought it was a pretty big deal at that time. I was on television in Birmingham, Alabama, and I decided to take pictures of these two police officers that were kind of roughing up this dude in the alleyway. And I took pictures of him. My flash went off, and about 15 seconds later, I was on the ground. And I was arrested that night for public intoxication. And I didn't have a drink that night. I was a chaperone. I was the only person who hadn't had a drink that night, but I was a chaperone. And I ended up in jail in Bourbon Street, Canal Street, actually. And this is in my book, Bret. And I cried like a small child through most of the night when that happened. But I found out that it's Napoleonic rule. What happens on Bourbon Street supposedly stays on Bourbon Street.
That's the word.
Yeah. And they didn't take my picture. I called a friend of mine the next day who was a very prominent official in Birmingham at the time. The guy I half owned the boat with, who was he was the DA in Alabama, and he laughed and he said, "Not squeaky clean, David Neal. You didn't get arrested." I said, "Well, he said, what they charge you with?" I said, "They never said." He said, "Well, they had to charge you with something," and it said taking a picture, an unauthorized photograph, and not a member of the press. And long story short,
Bogus charges. Let's just throw it out there.
it was money making. This was before Katrina, and it was. It turns out to where it was almost like it was a practical joke, sort of. But it's in my book, and I got a couple of people who will back that up. That'll be coming out never, really. I just told it here while we're sitting here, wasting a little bit of time. But would you buy that book? That's half of the dude. If you knew about my life,
A memoir of David Neal.
One time I was talking to a friend of mine today in Chattanooga that used to do the sports in Chattanooga, Kevin Billingsley. We were talking about the time that a guy broke into the television station and he had a gun. And his deal was that if I didn't put him on to do the weather with me, he was going to hurt somebody. And I actually went through a rundown. I went through a fake weather show. They got chroma key wall set up and everything. And a guy with a gun. Bret, I don't even know if I told you this, but this was in Chattanooga in the studios in WDF in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And a very large man asked to do the weather while I watched. And then,
I don't remember that guy. I remember the guy that got mad at you when you were on the hill at BRC and came up with a shotgun and threatened to shoot you for interrupting the Simpsons or something during severe weather.
It was the X-Files.
Oh, my bad.
And they were kissing that night, and it was tornado warning in Tuscaloosa.
He was a little upset.
He was a little bit upset. But that was a federal offense because he wrote it. First of all, he wrote it down, and he emailed it to me, first of all, that he was going to shoot me.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
That was
right.
his mistake, and that became a federal offense at that point because I interrupted the X-Files for a tornado warning, which I thought Ruben Studdard's mom was going to do the same because remember we had tornado. It was a moderate risk, I think, the night that Ruben won
the
American Idol.
American Idol, yeah. I do remember that. That was a bit of a
God.
debacle.
And I got to work. When I got to work, we were trying to figure out how we were going to handle that, because it would have been our policy there that we always broke in when there was a tornado warning inside of our DMA, and it was no questions asked. We broke in, but it was American Idol, and Ruben, it was the last night, the final night, and we went through meeting after meeting of how we were going to handle that. But do you remember what we did?
I don't remember what happened. I do know that was the time. Anyway, I do remember. Get
Don't tell
smooth
it if
move,
you don't
Jarvis.
think you
I do remove. I just got flustered. I do know that was the time before we had the real digital programming where we couldn't just say swap over to our .2 channel.
Right.
You know, did you double box that? How did that go?
Double boxed it and went to the SAP channel, what used to be called SAP. I don't know if it's still on a remote or not. Is
Spanish? Well, it's not
Second
on
audio.
mine. Second audio preference or some crap. I don't know.
SAP stood for second audio. And,
Yeah,
so
you
we
can't.
decided that we were going to run either American Idol with the SAP or vice versa. But we went through like 2 hours of meetings on what we were going to do. And Ruben's mom called and wondered what we were going to do. And she was sweet about it, though. So did what I just think happened just happen? Okay.
Yeah, it happened. It
Okay.
did. That's the reason I was like,
He's smart.
all right.
He's a smart guy, too.
Yeah, you might want to. The do not disturb function there works pretty good.
Bless his heart. We'll have to rewind that for him. And
Yeah, talk about bloopers. I think he just made the reel of the week there, didn't he?
He did. Bless his heart.
Let's see.
If
Hold on just a
anybody,
minute. I
that
wanna
sounds like
check.
something
There
I
we
would
go.
do.
I mean, we just need to see if we can go ahead and just, open the
Yeah.
can of worms.
Yeah, why not? Behind the scenes.
Oh, man.
at,
Well, I mean, just adding more flood water to the problem down there in southern Louisiana, Jarvis. That's all we know. That's all we know.
all right. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, let's see if we got any questions from the audience. Tried to throw some info, throw some video, and talk about things. Any questions, anything, I can screen grab that, no problem. He's going to see that one on Twitter and probably everywhere
I
else.
hope so. It just that caught me by surprise,
Oh yeah, me too.
especially in the middle of my story. I can't wait till he gets back so we can tell him.
I can't either. That's going to be great. Again, let's roll through, I guess, what we've got going on actively right now. Again, you see severe thunderstorms, special marine and flash flood warnings active across southeast Louisiana there for the next little while. Very heavy rainfall around that portion of Lake Pontchartrain on the north shore there, Mandeville, Slidell, back over to Covington, and to the south. Just to the south of Kentwood there, where it crosses 55, starting to move into the Hammond area. We just had a gust in New Orleans, by the way, David, recently of 40. That was at...
in New Orleans, where all those people are playing around outside.
Yeah. Saw a lot of lightning there on the New Orleans cam as we were looking earlier, too.
Oh, yeah.
That looks to be the primary activity that's going on. We got a little bit on the east coast of Florida, a little bit of special marine warning action there. We had a little flood warning there in North Carolina, just to the north of downtown Charlotte. So we saw that as well. That should expire here soon. Those storms are going to be expected to calm down as we go into time. We've had a few storms also up in the northern plains, which has been abnormal this time of this year. It's typically they're Montana, southeast Montana, and western North Dakota. There's been some hail and some wind gust reports, 50 to 60 mile an hour winds with some hail
80.
over an inch. 80. Oh, wow.
In Fallon County.
Oh, okay, I see that. Up there, Ismay, Montana, 80 mile an hour wind gust, and that was from a trained spotter. I see Jarvis is now back in our ear here, producer Jarvis. He let the whole world know Where he was going there, I guess we had an active source, and I'll let David tell the story.
Well, all you gotta do is rewind a little bit. It's on YouTube from now on, from here to eternity. Yeah.
Viewers are wanting to know. They're asking, did everything come out okay for you, Brandon?
He doesn't know.
Yeah, everything came out fine, guys. I appreciate the concern.
He says
know
yes.
that you texted us live. Did you know that?
On the iPad window.
On the
that was
iPad
live.
window there. So everybody knew what you just did.
So they were like,
Oh, I know. I seen it. I was laughing.
okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's.
The audience can hear me talking now.
Oh, okay, my bad. I'm stupid because I'm not at the control helm here because on my end I couldn't hear the guy talking unless I was watching the YouTube feed and the video playback. So that's what had me jacked up there. That's the reason I was delayed answering David because I had no idea what was going on here. We're wonderful producer Jarvis is still figuring it out with us, but everything did come out okay, Jarvis. That sounds great. I'm happy for you.
It's funny because we were just talking about prairie dogs earlier in the day today.
What was that? Golf ball size kidney stones? Is that what you said earlier?
It's funny.
Yeah.
Just talking about prairie dogs. All right. Well, I think we're done. I appreciate you being with us. Country Girl 77. Durant Brown, good to see you tonight. Michael Beard. Michael, I haven't talked to you in forever, man. I hope you're doing all right. Good to hear from you. DJ is with us tonight. Freeze warning in Nevada. The desert should be 120 degrees this time of year. And everybody out there who joined us tonight for the first time, we really appreciate it. And, we'll do it again sometime really soon. And make sure that we have, that Jarvis gets to potty on time, I guess. I didn't know that was really first of all, I didn't know he needed to tell me. He's never really had to tell me before. He's just normally gone ahead, and I didn't know about it. But
let's see if there's any more question here. How about the freeze warning in Nevada? Should be 120 degrees this time of the year. You know what? We actually had a stringer that sent some video in. They had a really late season snow out west in Mount Rainier, which is elevated, but yeah, it's the west is dealing with some cooler temperatures right now, which is really weird for this time of the year, as you said. And has Tornado Alley moved this year, David?
Which one? I mean, there's a bunch of different tornado alleys. We have ours is deep here in the heart of Dixie that we call Dixie Alley, but Tornado Alley is wherever it winds up being. And I think I saw yesterday, Bret. Did you see snow falling in Vail yesterday?
Yeah, like I said, some of those higher elevation spots are seeing snow. The air aloft is really, really cold right now still.
Yeah.
We're not seeing those crazy temperatures, except we have started to see some of that again over Louisiana, Texas today. Those heat indices over 115 down there along coastal sections. They're under an excessive heat warning. At least I know they were today. Let me look at the Weather Service page before we leave just to see and make sure I'm correct in that. Yeah, Louisiana still has a heat advisory, but Central Texas, the Dallas metro area, all the way down almost to Brownsville, just north of Brownsville, San Antonio, Austin, Waco, excessive heat warnings. And it looks like they're saying heat index is up to 120 through 9 o'clock Wednesday. So that's the next couple days.
Yeah,
they're going to be really bad there. Heat indexes of 114 to 120 can be expected, and high temperatures of 103 to 114 with maximum heat index values of 120. So the air temps are going to be basically 105 to 115 out in this area. Crazy.
All right, folks, we appreciate you joining us here tonight. Michael, again, it's good to see you. Jamie, great to talk to you. Weather all over is crazy. You live in Alaska. Do you live in Alaska right now? Well, we don't have time to really go into this, but send us some pictures, Jamie, from Alaska. We'd love to see what's going on up there. Love me some Alaska. Normally doesn't. What's funny is his iPad normally doesn't show messages. You a lie. It's always showing that.
His iPad's just not the main source sometimes with our NDIs here.
Yeah, it's always here. But for Bret and Jarvis and everybody else who's been with us today, we really appreciate it. And we'll let you go for now. And LSM, Live Storage Media, get on there and subscribe. And if there's something you want to see, let us know about it. But for now, I think I'm done, Bret. You done?
Sounds good. Sounds good to me. Jarvis had his contest.
Still mouthing on.
Definitely not that type of contest. But
Yep.
anyway, stay with us, guys. We'll be back, I'm sure, for some tropical updates as we go in the next few days, as this system kind of gets a bearing on what it may do and where it may go. If it looks like it could strike Puerto Rico, there's quite a possibility that I'll be getting airborne and headed down that way. But right now, the left shift continues, and it looks like that it's going to go south of the island. I need to see more of a strike, and that's, next couple of days will tell me the tale, because it looks like Friday to Saturday time frames when it would be there. So I'm gonna make a decision in the next 24 to 48 hours on whether I hit the road or not. So stay with us. Severe weather tomorrow, Louisiana. All you guys, thanks for tuning in.
Yep.
David Neal, meteorologist Bret Adair, producer Jarvis, he's in the body.
I'm afraid he's going to try to screw us now, so I'm going to make sure he stops streaming when he says he is.
Yeah, I'm taking the control of the in stream right here, and
yeah, you do it.
we appreciate you guys joining in, and we'll be back.
See you guys
Stay with
later.
us.